You know, sometimes you hear stories about a level of compassion that's, well, it's almost superhuman, right? A kindness so deep it feels like it's from another world. That's exactly what we're diving into today. These are some truly mind-blowing stories of mercy from the lives of the Prophet's household, the Ahlul-Bayt's ﷺ. And these aren't just, old historical accounts. They're more like a blueprint for a totally different way of living.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is a kindness so deep that it can literally change the world? And I don't just mean being polite or nice. I mean a radical, foundational kindness. The kind that doesn't just help someone, but actually transforms them from the inside out. Well, believe it or not, the answer might be waiting for us in these incredible stories that have been passed down for centuries.
All right, so let's start with our first story, and it centers on a figure known throughout history for his just unbelievable generosity, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, alayhi salam. I mean, his title was literally Karim Ahl-Bayt, the most generous of the Prophet's household. And this first story, wow, it shows you exactly why.
Okay, so just try to picture this. There's a man, and he's in desperate need. But the weight of his situation, the sheer humiliation of having to ask for help, it's completely silenced him. He just can't bring himself to say the words out loud.
So what does he do? Instead of speaking, he pulls out this small piece of paper. He's written down his entire request on it. He walks up to Imam Hassan alayhi salam and just silently hands it to him. I mean, you can just feel the tension in that quiet, vulnerable moment.
Now, stop and think for a second. What would you or I do in that situation? We'd read the note, right? We'd look at the request, figure out what's going on, and then decide how to help. But the Imam alayhi salam, he did something that is just absolutely astonishing. Without even glancing at the paper, without having any idea if the request was for something small or something huge, he just looks the man in the eye and says, "Your need is met." Just like that, he granted the request completely sight unseen. Can you even imagine?
So what on earth was the thinking behind this? I mean, why do that? When his companions asked him why he didn't even read the note, the Imam gave this incredible reply. It wasn't about the money. It was never just about the money. It was about dignity. The act of giving was completely secondary to protecting this man from even one more second of humiliation.
But here's the thing. This radical compassion, it didn't just stop with people. And this next story shows how it literally extended to all of God's creation.
So in another account, Imam Hassan alayhi salam is walking along one day, and he sees a man, who happens to be a slave, sitting down to eat a simple piece of bread. But he wasn't eating by himself. And this is what's so amazing. The man would take one bite of bread for himself, and then he'd tear off the very next bite and give it to a stray dog that was just sitting there patiently beside him. Bite for bite, a perfect 50-50 split. This wasn't about giving away leftovers, This was about true sharing, a real partnership, recognizing the right of another creature to eat with him. Just incredible.
Okay, so protecting someone's dignity, that's one thing. Sharing your meal with an animal, that's another. But maybe the ultimate test of compassion, the level that is truly, truly mind-blowing, is how you respond to someone who absolutely despises you. So, fast forward to the time of Imam Musa al-Kadhim, alayhi salam. There was this one man in Medina who had this deep, intense hatred for him. And this wasn't some quiet dislike. No. Every single time this guy saw the Imam, he would just unleash a storm of insults and abuse.
Now the Imam's companions, they were furious. They wanted to do something, but the Imam told them no, don't retaliate. Instead, he gets on his horse and rides out to the man's farm. The man starts insulting him again, right to his face, and the Imam meets him with a kind greeting. He asks about the farm, learns the man has financial problems, and then he just gives him this huge bag of money to solve all his debts. And the result? The very next time the man saw the Imam in the mosque, his heart was completely changed. He stood up and praised the same man he used to hate. It's just a masterclass in answering hate with overwhelming, proactive love.
So this begs the question, right? What drives this kind of compassion? Why would you act with such radical generosity, especially towards an enemy? The answer, it lies in a completely different philosophy of what it even means to give.
Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he defined this concept of ma'ruf, or what we might call true goodness, in a way that just turns everything on its head. He taught that giving to someone after they ask, that's not actually the highest form of charity. And why not? Because in his view, you're really just repaying them for the dignity they had to sacrifice in that moment of asking. True, real goodness is anticipating a need and meeting it before they are ever forced to ask. And this whole perspective is just captured perfectly in a poem by the Imam, alayhi salam. It completely flips the script. The person in need isn't a burden, they're a blessing. The chance to give is actually a gift to the giver. Think about that. The person asking for help is actually doing a favor for the one who gives, because they're allowing them to fulfill this noble, beautiful duty.
And it's so important to realize this wasn't just a one-time thing or the trait of one or two amazing individuals. This ocean of mercy, it was the defining characteristic of the entire prophetic household, alayhi salam. You see it again and again, from Imam Hassan making sure a man's honor was protected, to Imam Musa al-Kadhim completely transforming an enemy's heart. It's the same principle at work every single time. This is a legacy built on this profound idea that true strength isn't found in power or status, but in boundless, unbelievable compassion.
Look, these stories are so much more than just history. They're a challenge to every single one of us. They ask us to completely redefine what we think kindness is. So the question I want to leave you with is this. If we were to take just one drop from this incredible ocean of compassion and actually apply it in our own lives, what could we change? What could you change?